Imagine this scenario. You're back on your elementary school playground and you've forgotten your lunch. However, rather than starve, your friend kindly offers his or her lunch to you. This behavior benefiting you, however, is at the cost of your own friend's needs. This self-sacrifice behavior is known as altruism, and this event raises a plethora of questions. Some of these questions being, why be self-sacrificing? Is it instinctual to be altruistic? Or is it society that's pressuring us to be so? Or even, are humans psychologically altruistic or egotistical? This video will serve as a moral inquiry into the persistence of altruism in human societies around the world. In its definition, altruism is the belief in or practice of disinterested and selfless concern for the well-being of others. And at first glance, it seems to be totally unnatural. One biological argument suggesting that it would make the most logical sense for an individual to benefit oneself, appealing to the idea of the instinct theory of motivation. This psychological theory suggests that it is in our nature to put ourselves in a position that will allow for optimal offspring production, meaning that our desire to stay alive is primarily motivated by the instinctual drive to keep one species thriving, suggesting that humans by nature are psychologically egotistical. The same theory also suggesting that all acts that we perform are basically selfish. A philosopher-thinker who argued on behalf of this theory is Thomas Hobbes. In Hobbes' Leviathan, he asserts that humans are inherently wicked and selfish, believing that if a person is being kind, it is for their own personal gain. This idea is also supported by Plato. In the thought experiment of the Ring of Gynes, the character Gyne is told that this ring will allow him to be invisible, thus avoiding all forms of consequence. He then uses his newly found power granted by the ring to seduce the king's wife, kill the king, and take over the kingdom. This story questions the moral standard of humans when there's no form of punishment. Despite the compelling arguments on the egotistical side of things, humans are undeniably social creatures. Though we are all distinct individuals, we also often consider ourselves part of a larger identity. Rather than only thinking of ourselves, it is often that we find ourselves thinking of a larger group of people, desiring to benefit society for the good of all rather than damaging it. Why is that? Why care about others? Philosophers such as David Hume and Arthur Schopenhauer strongly believed in the idea of sentimentalism. Sentimentalism in this context being the central thesis to our moral distinctions, that we ought to be good for the will of the people, thus leading us to be more selfless, ensuring the survival of our species, suggesting that both psychological altruism and ethical altruism are valid. Though arguments concerning the ethical standpoints of humans may prove to be difficult, it is safe to say that there's undeniable evidence for the existence of altruism. Whether or not it is pure is up to the individual. However, it's safe to say that there are definite reasons for the good deeds, as well as the vast prevalence of altruism throughout humanity.